disclaimers. I am a little fuzzy from medication, so I may slur a word. I may drool a little bit. It's very embarrassing when that happens. And even if I nod off, the people next to me will give me a nudge, not too hard, because that changes my seating with my back.
You can see me. You can't see me. Here I am.
So that's why I came, so that we can have a good time. I can see everyone, but I like to be here at the temple when I can.
No, Norma, I think there's room for you next to.
And not with everything that I spread out like you do.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Now, okay, we have people spread out over here. You may not be able to see everyone all the time, but you'll get to figure out the layout of the land here. Anyway, I think what are we on? Verse 18, Leviticus 26, 18, or did we get to 23?
I think we're on 26, though I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, well, that's okay. We would have gone to the end of 26, so we're probably on Leviticus 27 then, if somebody is keeping track of things.
No, on 26.
26.
Chapter.
Chapter, yeah, Leviticus 26,
27.
verse 27.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Rabbi.
Hi, Marty.
Hi.
He's still tripping a little bit, so I have
I got
to work with him.
So you guys keep me straight, okay? And I think we'll have some fun, okay? I got that. Anyway, let me read the opening prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
I can read Hebrew more clearly. I have to do this. Anyway, David, did you bring something to read?
Yes, I did. And today I'd like to read from George Gordon Lord Byron, a poem called Manfred, and at the very beginning, and I did add one line at the end of that. When the moon is on the wave, and the glowworm in the grass, and the meteor on the grave, and the wisp on the morass, when the falling stars are shooting, and the answered owls are hooting, and the silent leaves are still in the shadow of the hill, shall my soul be upon thine with a power and with a sign. And tonight we go out to observe online. Thank you very much.
Okay,
The last line was.
that David added.
Right.
David added. And by the way, I want to thank Steve and everybody for helping out last week. It was very important, and also taking over Steve, the week before. I appreciate that. So I guess we are on Leviticus 26, verse 27. Is that right?
I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So if someone can read through verse read.
But if despite this you disobey me and remain hostile to me, I will act against you in wrathful hostility. For my part will discipline you sevenfold for your sins. You shall eat the flesh of your sons and flesh of your daughters. 30. I will destroy your cult places and cut down your incense stands, and I will keep your carcasses upon your lifeless fetishes.
Okay, any comments about this gruesome threat?
I just would like to point out that in the two commentaries that I have in front of me, neither
Sounds like.
add and
That's right.
deal with these verses at all.
As a
At
matter
all.
of fact, as a matter of fact, when
my
you go
gosh.
online, this and some, the other remaining
You're
ones,
right.
you may get a little bit here and a little bit there. But they're usually from Christian
Right,
sources.
right.
Okay, not Jewish sources.
Oh, my.
So I just want to point that out. Because they do take this seriously in some regard. As I mentioned before, this was very common during the BCE period at around the time Deuteronomy was written. So if you had a contract, there were all kinds of gruesome things that would be entered into the contract if you broke the contract. And what is we don't call it a contract. What do we call
A covenant.
covenant? If we break the covenant, this is what can befall us. Some people have taken this literally, others metaphorically. So that's all I can say, but it is very gruesome. All I can say, knowing that nobody wants to touch this in any way, basically, it's a statement. It's because if you break my commandments, you're breaking the covenant, and therefore bad things are going to happen to you. And I think if you leave it that way, that will probably allow us to have some ideas to what's going on. Yes.
Yeah, I did point out, and Rabbi Miri probably knows it also, that the phrase that most of us see a translation of hostile or hostility or whatever. Steve, I don't know if you've got your concordance there and looking, but Perry, the Hebrew word that they're translating that way, this is what they call a hapax legomenon. It only appears once.
Yeah, very
Once is
puzzling
enough.
word, yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Right, so this is the ultimate, penultimate, the worst kind of description of the people's negative reaction to God, and then God's negative reaction to what they've done.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you break the laws as set down by God, you're gonna might be keep the trouble. And if you think about the Ten Commandments and further, as you go through those, you can understand you have to have severe penalties. That's basically, if you trash everything, that's what's going to happen. Any other comments on this so far?
I might have a comment. I'm looking up Carrie,
Oh, okay. Well,
which is a peculiar.
I mean, some of the commentators, work on that word.
What do they say?
Well, some,
Enlighten me, 'cause-
with Mikra, that just, that it's a singular happenstance
okay.
kind of
So
thing,
the root being kara.
by chance, right?
Okay.
Salanter, that's Israel Salanter, to car, to cold. So,
Pull you up.
I'm
So these people.
I'm in there. I'm in there. I'm up there. They can see me. Okay.
And so everybody can see you.
Okay.
You're way back there and everybody has to train their little.
Okay.
Pay attention.
Rabbi Mary, did you want to comment on this? If so, you'll have to unmute yourself.
I think she's frozen too.
No, she's not
No,
frozen.
she's not.
Okay.
Okay,
She's working on her.
Okay. well, did you find anything else, Steve?
No, not.
You're
not
okay.
delete that.
Right.
So, if we want to, if somebody would read verses 21 through the end of 26.
31.
Oh, okay, 31. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Why don't you go through 31 through the end of 38? Anybody?
Okay, I could do that.
Please, Steve.
Okay, and I will make your cities a waste, and will bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies that dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And in you will I scatter among the nations, and I will draw out the sword after you, and your land shall be a desolation, and your cities shall be a waste. Then shall the land be paid her Sabbaths as long as it lieth desolate, and ye are in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and repay her Sabbaths. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall have rest, even the rest which had not in your Sabbaths when ye dwelt upon it. And as for them that are left of you, I will send a faintness into their heart in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of a driven leaf shall chase them. They shall flee as one flees from the sword, and they shall fall when none pursues. And they shall stumble one upon another, as it were before the sword when none pursues. And ye shall have no power to stand before your enemies. And ye shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And was I supposed to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' lands, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. And they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers, and their treachery which they committed against me, and also that they have walked contrary unto me. I also will walk contrary unto them, and bring them into the land of their enemies. If then perchance their uncircumcised heart be humbled, and they then be paid the punishment of their iniquity. That's all the tochecha is that was, and after that comes something else. So did a shift in the contest, but that was all tochecha. That was all scolding or reproof. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Then comes the nechemta. Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The discussion of the Sabbaths of the land, that I'm not sure what that was about.
I have in I just blanked on the Plow. In Plow, make up for its Sabbath years in verse 34. This passage in verse 43 also stressed the importance of the Sabbath year and introduced the notion that the desolation of the land is to make up for Sabbath years neglected in the past. A tie is thus established between this chapter and chapter 25, etc., and chapters in Deuteronomy. I don't know if anyone else in another version has something there.
Friedman brings up the point. He says, and I'm quoting him, on one hand, this is yet another reminder it takes generations before the God of Israel will take such actions. On the other hand, it means that the Israelites must recognize that it's not only their own offenses that have led to these things, they must come to terms that their parents' offenses as well. The ultimate revelation of the divine at Sinai includes the fact that the deity reckons fathers' crimes on children and on children's children and on third generations and on fourth. Now the perspective is turned to those children generations later, and we learn from the Torah no less than from Freud that humans must look back not only at the good that their parents and grandparents did, but also at their errors and faults. So,
Very nice.
yeah.
Right,
Yes,
yeah, Rashi also says that once the land has now been occupied by the enemies, okay, they obviously are not going to give the land its Sabbath,
right.
and whatever. So when you do re-inherit, remember that you have to go back to that pattern,
Right.
if you owe it to the land.
Couple of things from what we've been reading. Following the Holocaust, there were many Orthodox Jews that said, oh my goodness, we have been severely punished with the Holocaust. And they said, what were so they asked the question, we must return, they asked this question, did they have, what did they do? Is it also punishment for what they had forgotten? Was it punishment for things in the past, going all the way back to the golden calf? Because they couldn't figure out a good reason for this. Other people have said, who are not as Orthodox, that the Holocaust was an act of man, that these people also had abandoned God. And so I thought this would be a reasonable time for a discussion about this discrepancy, because it continues to plague us to this day, and especially in the day when we are seeing a lot of anti-Semitism, and we're seeing a lot of warfare in Israel. We're sort of replaying it in another way, because this has come up. We had the pogroms in Europe constantly, and a lot of people said, "Oh my goodness, what did we do to deserve this?" Yes, Rabbi Mary, please.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, but speak directly into your microphone.
Can you hear now?
Very good.
It might be better, just a technical issue. Rabbi Miri, you're sort of enrolled twice in the Zoom.
So there's an
Yeah.
And we might get a little bit of repetition or echo and stuff from that.
Okay, can you
If you
hear
could,
properly now?
No,
it's done.
yeah, you have to turn off the other, you have,
you entered the meeting twice. Twice is,
On two different devices?
Yeah, so
maybe
there's
two
an
different
echo effect.
devices or
Two
something.
different shirts.
yeah, if you got two up, the audio is not gonna come in correctly.
It's not two different shows.
Mhm.
It's two different qualities of color resolution.
Oh, come on. You just read the mic.
I mean, well, why don't you go ahead? If it isn't interfere, we'll
Because they
let
did
it go.
use this
You can talk. I don't know.
This was the
Might
passage
be
that they
okay.
referred to
You
constantly.
could turn off the computer and just use your cell phone.
Well, Rabbi Miri is working with the technical issues. I'll ask if anyone else has a comment about that.
Well,
I think it has something to, I think free will has a part in this. Also, the fact that Jews were beaten, tortured, and murdered for centuries. I think both of these have a part in it. And at the time, they had to find a scapegoat, Adolf Hitler, because inflation was runaway. They were having a very bad time with the economy. And this was an opportunity for this man to take advantage. And I think he put this all together. They started the framework with this particular idea.
Okay, okay, yes, that's why that's what we said. Yes, Steve, thank you.
Just something that you mentioned right off the bat at the beginning of the discussion. You know, many Orthodox felt that what the Holocaust occurred, what's committed in order to deserve this.
Yeah.
I have to what?
Speak up.
Oh, okay, you're not hearing.
You have to.
Okay. Okay, and you know, I would like to think, and I believe that's a minority of that.
Okay.
That's not. I wouldn't say that's a prevalent view that you know, even among the very observant, that you know, something bad happened to you, you didn't tie your tefillin tight enough, or you know, that would be a minority, okay? And sort of antithetical to the spirit of Judaism. And
Say it loud, say it loud.
yeah, just I think it's antithetical. You know, I wait for the comments from the rabbis or Rabbi Miri, but and Rabbi here, you know, but I think that's antithetical to the spirit of Judaism, period, you know, as it ever was. I think that would be clearly a minority opinion that you know, the Holocaust occurred because of Reform Judaism or because of, you know, not adherence to mitzvot that was adequate. And I think that was the first thing that, as I understood, that was the first thing you brought up, you know, that, you know, why the bad things happen.
Well, that was an argument though, that was put forth in literature too.
Historically,
Yes.
that's one of
right.
them. Yes, and with the Holocaust, the Shoah specifically, I agree, Steve, it is a minority, but it is there. It's there in the literature, it's there in the sermons, you know, and whatever, but it is a minority, and I would agree, yes, it's antithetical, okay, but historically, and so those rabbis and sages who talk that way were firmly within the
Torah,
tradition
you know.
of this is why it's happening to us, okay, or to you, because they wouldn't necessarily include themselves as you know, that way. But there are also minority, but there were strong voices that said the opposite, that said the test is not as a punishment for what we have or have not done. The test is, how do we react when there's this evil amongst us? Do we simply accept it, or do we fight back against it? Do we resist, and do we fight back against it? So there's that minority opinion also. Right. Just to again, to add to your open-ended question of discussion.
Okay. Any other opinions out there?
Oh, Marty, I have an opinion, but I need one more minute here to fix my hair.
Okay. Yes, okay. Rabbi Mary, did you have something you wanted to add? Yes.
She's muted.
You're muted, Rabbi Mary.
She's also saying no, I think.
Oh, no, okay.
I don't know why she's on two different things.
I don't know.
Yeah, just once again, Mary, all you have to do is exit the meeting with one of your persons. Oh, I think she already did.
No.
No.
Oh, is she still there? Oh, that's right.
Well, I'll continue with what Michael was saying also is that, you know, free will. I mean, if there's
Right.
free will to make the correct choice, then there's also, by definition, free will to make the incorrect sinful choice. You know, if you will. So, you know, you can't really have it both ways. If you are thankful for, grateful for humanity enjoying free choice, there's the recognition that there are going to be some people who choose in directions different than the ones that we consider to be the correct ones. Or if you align yourself with all those who say, no, everything is scripted and we're just the marionettes, we're the puppets acting out God's plan, you know, then we somehow have to find comfort and meaning in what it is that we're doing. Just submitting to God's plan.
That,
Yeah.
that opens the door to a discussion on free will.
Yes.
Do we, you know, or is everything predetermined?
Right. Well, it gets into the free will, it gets into all those subsidiary questions, whether they're about the Shoah, the Holocaust, whether they're about the, you know, the pogroms in Eastern Europe, or whether they're about October 7th, which was certainly a pogrom.
Mhm.
You know, absolutely. And the question of vengeance, the question of how do we react, you know, to that, et cetera. All those go along with it.
It's also, it's important,
ahead.
even a straight reading of the Torah, you know, in reference to the comment that that minority of Orthodox rabbis who say that the Shoah occurred because of sins, of specific
There's
sins.
incidents, they're saying it about October
Because-
7th also.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And they're sort of within the biblical text, but actually, even if you read the biblical text, it doesn't say that all calamities come from God. It
Right.
doesn't say that here. It says, you know, if you sin, a lot of bad things will happen. But, you know, if you look at it just from a straight logical standpoint, it doesn't say anywhere that all calamities come from God. You know, there can be other types of calamities. God
Or
does,
all blessings come from God.
or so sometimes not.
Right.
Well,
Go ahead, Gail.
in verse 29,
I'm sorry, which verse?
29,
We're backtracking.
it says, this isn't God doing this. It's saying you will eat your son's flesh, and your daughter's flesh you will eat. God isn't going to do that. You're going to do it.
Well, it's just a description
No, I
of an extreme situation
understand. that.
leading to cannibalism.
I
And the extreme situation was the result of divine punishment.
Well, yes, but still, you know, who's making you do that? You know, so.
Well, but, or is it because of the, a total famine that I will bring
I don't
upon
know.
you?
Well,
Right.
that's possible too.
Right.
Yeah.
And that really is, there are little clues that it is famine.
Mhm.
Okay, because if you go back to
The
verse,
famine is the punishment.
that's right.
Right.
Oh,
If
okay.
you go
All right.
back to, where is it? Verse 26. Okay,
Even 22. All
and
cattle will
well,
be wiped
22
out.
through
Right,
26.
yeah.
It, when it takes people to do the work of one, it means the gathering of the wheat. It's going to be so sparse. And this is one of the interpretations,
Well,
that things are so sparse, you'll have to have 10 people going out to get very little. And each combining everything to be able to bake it in one oven,
all right.
you know, going through the process. And then what do you do with it? You're going to break it up according to weight. So I was thinking about that. Does that mean that you would also have to add dirt to your bread? Because it's heavier if you add the dirt,
I think,
or is it just the wheat?
I think they used sawdust at one time.
They have,
Yeah.
sawdust has been used, anything else? No, I'm serious about it, because in some cultures, they do have to eat.
Sure.
They do have to eat it. In the United States, there's an illness called geophagia, in which people eat lead paint, or they will eat clay, or other
Or
Other
pipe,
things.
pediatricians.
Hiking. It's very common, especially in the South. And, but with going into all the medical details, it makes you anemic, and you're going to become weaker. And it's going to make you more susceptible to vermin and other things. So there's a logical explanation. I can also talk about chaotic math. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that.
With
But
what?
it's chaotic math theory, in which most of you know about the starts with an M. It's the spiral that keeps generating more images of itself. Mandelbrot. Thank you.
Mandela.
Mandela,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
But it's Mandelbrot is the
Oh,
name.
the bread, right, okay.
Right.
My mother-in-law.
Syria is helping me, but it's very funny. I just think it's very funny. She's listening into our discussion.
Oh, that's nice.
So anyway,
Was that Sue?
no, that
Oh.
was Siri.
Oh, Siri. Okay. Thank you,
Sue's
Siri.
listening.
So in chaotic math theory, they talk about things occurring, once you have three objects, everything breaks down and you get all different types of patterns, and the math diverges greatly. And they try to make sense of this. And especially when you hear of a three-dimensional universe or a four-dimensional universe, that's because time has been added. And you can have 5 dimensions and like that. All of this is an outgrowth of chaotic theory. But periodically, even in a chaotic sequence and a constant repetition, everything breaks down to a straight line or a straight curve. And then it starts up again. So there are periods in which, and if you think about human existence this way, it can be chaotic. And then for a period of time, everything runs smoothly, and then it becomes chaotic. It may not be in the same way, but it becomes chaotic, and then it becomes intelligible to everyone, and everybody's behavior is okay, no wars or anything, and then it breaks down again because of a different variable. So this is, in chaotic math, is being utilized in AI programs, okay? But you see it in broccoli, your lungs, the pattern of how your bronchi are distributed, blood vessels. All of this is an outgrowth of this. Even how trees grow.
When you're finished with the thought, I just
Yes.
want to remind you that Suzanne.
Okay, yes, I'm coming. That's why I stopped, because I was.
Yeah, okay.
It's my medicine, Suzanne. It's affecting me in weird ways. Please, Suzanne.
Okay. No problems, Marty. I'm just sort of a bit disheveled this morning. Okay, the question had to do with the Holocaust, or at least that was what I had wanted to respond to.
We started this discussion.
And I get that what I'm about to say is not part of modern Judaism. And in fact, some of it's not all Christians buy into. But the way I see it is that the human race is, well, I shouldn't say the human, well, yes, that's fine. Satan is in a war with God. It's a spiritual warfare. And I get that you guys don't believe in Satan, and there are a great many Christians that do not either. But it's the only thing that makes sense to me after all the years of studying scripture. And the only way for Satan to survive is for him to somehow thwart or defeat God or make God a liar or something along those lines. And if he had understood the importance of Yeshua having going through the crucifixion, he never would have supported that. Now, getting to the Holocaust, I do not believe that God was punishing the Jewish people. I don't believe that at all. Now, there was a time when King Nebuchadnezzar came and destroyed the temple and took people to Babylon and all that. And they were there for 70 years. And God told them that that would happen. He told them that that would happen because they weren't keeping oh, what all was it? Not keeping this the jubilees and you know how you're supposed to let the crops not use the land for a year every 7 years. I forget what that's called. Well, anyways, they weren't doing that. God made a calculation and said that they owed him 70 years, and King Neb shows up, and that was that. And then at the end of the 70 years, Cyrus shows up, and now they're free to go back to Israel. Nothing like that was ever said about Hitler or the Jews or Germany or any of that. So no, I don't believe that, but I do believe that Satan was using Hitler to try to take out the Jews, because if the Jewish people are eliminated, then the rest of biblical prophecy cannot come true. And I will add, and I'm sorry I can't remember the reference. I think it's Zechariah. There is going to be another horrible time for the Jewish people. And instead of 1 out of 3 being murdered, as in the Holocaust, it's going to be 2 out of 3. And that's in the Old Testament. And I'll get the reference for you for next week. And I have a feeling why that's going to happen, which gets me into the 7-year tribulation and all that, which is part of the book of Daniel. But I don't want to go down all that way right now. But anyways, in answer to the question, no, I do not believe that God was punishing the Jewish people. I do think that God knew this was going to happen. And I also think that God tried to take that situation, as horrible as it was, and try to make something good from it. And the good is that Israel is back in the land. And I would also add that that May 14th date and in 1967, that date when you had the 6-year war, those 2 dates were also given in scripture. And I'll have that for you next week so you can see for yourselves.
Thank you. I have to admit, it's foreign territory for me.
Well, I know, I understand. It's just a different viewpoint.
That information. I appreciate it. The reason I brought up, Beth has her hand up, and Amy. I don't know who first. Amy,
I think it was me. You know, circling around this, I think, we as humans, we have this really strong desire for answers, especially when bad things happen. Generally not when good things happen. Good things we think, hey, great, it happened, or we deserve it because we think there's cause and effect. But I think that we have to be careful about abdication of responsibility. Because when somebody says to me it's God's will, I'm uncomfortable with that. Because God gave us all these tools. Unfortunately, humans are so deeply flawed and apparently so perpetually angry at each other that we have this cycle over and over and over again. But to me, when I read this passage, what comes to mind is, why are we good? I mean, I see it as there's goodness with expectation of reciprocation, and then there's goodness just because. So, taking it down to something really simple, if you do a favor for somebody, do you expect that they in the future will do a favor for you? Or are you just doing a favor for them because you're there? Something as simple as carrying somebody's groceries for them or whatever. I don't expect that somebody then in the future is going to carry my groceries. I mean, it'd be nice if I needed it. But the initial response in the world, I think on the sort of a Maimonides scale of levels of things is why do we do what we do? Where we're looking at something that says, if you don't do, I'm going to call it the right thing, then shit will rain down from the heavens. In a nutshell, that's the cliff notes of this one. And so for me, the question is, how are we supposed to live our lives? Because and take as much responsibility as possible. And when evil, I'm good with Satan, Suzanne,
Okay.
comes in and tries to take over, what is then our responsibility to acknowledge it and do something about it, not just witness it, but actually to do something about it. So it's more, for me, it's all about the questions in this.
Amy.
Well, Suzanne, I'm with you about Satan. But the thing, I've thought about the Holocaust for years and years and years. And it's just grieved my soul. And when I was in Berlin with a friend of mine, we met up with some German students our own age and discussed the Holocaust. And I've lost my train of thought. I wanted to say that I don't believe, I'm not convinced the Holocaust was an act of God because, to punish the Jews, because if that's the case, what about all the thousands of people who are not Jewish that were involved in a Holocaust? Were they just collateral damage, or were they also being punished by God? So I think the Jews got the brunt of it. There's no question. But I don't think that they were singled out.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Before I go to my,
Sorry, did you
Steve,
say, you say you don't think that the Jews were singled out?
No, she's.
they were not the only people. See.
No, agree, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, but maybe singled
They
out.
were singled out, but as Marty said, there were lots of non-Jews.
They definitely were not the
There were-
only, but they were the victims who were the most systematically murdered
Yes.
and murdered.
There was,
Wait a
as I
minute,
understand,
wait a minute, Michael. Wait, are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Michael, but did somebody else have their?
as I understand, there was, during that period, there was 12 million people that were murdered, and 6 million because of their religion, which is the Jews. Yeah, I agree with Beth. It's God's will. I don't believe that. That's why we all have free will. If we didn't have free will and only God was there, then you could say it's God's will. But because we have free will, I don't think you could really say that. Now, I'm gonna bring this to present day with all the demonstrations in the in the schools. I can't remember what I want to say sometimes. In higher learning, with the students and some faculty, and it seems to me that the Holocaust never stopped. It's just continuing.
Mhm.
But this is like a low in the situation. And you have all of these Holocaust centers, like the Simon Wiesenthal Center, which is probably the most uh, uh, famous. And I don't know if the rabbi, Rabbi Roman, lived in Santa Monica, California. And I don't know if you ever got to the Simon Wiesenthal Center, because it was in your backyard. And so if you didn't get there, I would be surprised. But and talk to the director, Marvin Heyer, about that. But the focus doesn't seem on all of these Holocaust centers that are all around the world. The focus seems to be on the Holocaust. As Amy said, I think she said, I think about it over and over and over and over again. I think we all do. We don't focus on the these center Holocaust museums and centers, and they're all over the place. But it seems to be directed at people's attention on the Holocaust itself. And it seems to create what goes on in these colleges and universities. Nobody ever talks about that part. And that's why I say it seems to continue.
Okay, Michael. Those are excellent thoughts. And that, I think, needs to be discussed about what is going on in our present society as well.
Marty, could you keep your voice up, please, a little bit more?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Hmm.
Is that better? You may
No,
have,
louder.
is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to stop the discussion here because I want to have time to take a side track. There was a method to my madness. If you read the Torah, it's another possible interpretation that that we have signed into a contract to do something that's never discussed. God creates everything on the earth in an order. It's order out of chaos. That's why I call it chaos. And the battle, in my mind, is not between a figure, not between man and everything. It's always a battle between God and chaos, order and chaos. And if you look at this passage, this is chaos. You will re-enter nature without protection. And I think if we look at it that way, it's not in the literature. But if you look at the choices we are given by God, it has been told to us multiple times, you have a choice. But I suggest you do it this way. And that's stated several times. And we've read that over the years. So I'm giving you free choice, but these are the rules to help guide your choice. Hopefully you will make the right choice. If you push these aside, if you don't do these rules and regulations, these suggestions, whatever you want to say, you will create a world of chaos again. And I think that is what this passage is trying to say, because then if you follow my rules, everything is fine. You'll have abundance and everything, but you'll have order in your life. If you don't, you will be like nature and everything will be disorderly. Okay? You may be eaten by animals. You may eat the wrong plants. You may, because if you push everything aside that you really know you should follow, you're not going to eat the wrong mushroom. But if you don't know anymore, you're going to eat the wrong mushroom and probably die. I'm sorry to pick on mushrooms. I enjoy mushrooms. But they're each, if you look at chaos theory, you will understand that this is really a battle, trying to maintain order. We are here to maintain the order of the animals and everything so that they can flourish.
It's difficult to hear you.
Difficult.
I can't talk any louder.
When you turn your head toward the right, it's better.
Right, is that better for everyone?
Maybe the microphone needs to be.
Is that better for everyone?
So that's the
Yes.
microphone. So.
Now you're gonna see, now
Well,
people
what
are
we-
gonna see my belly button.
We can't.
Now we'll see your profile.
But we might be able to hear you better.
Well, anyway,
No?
that's good enough. I'll let you
Not
guys.
according to us.
I said a lot,
Right.
but.
We could turn it around.
I said a lot, but I think that it's a different approach to it.
If I may, it is a different approach. It's a very interesting approach. Two questions kind of ran through my mind as I was listening to you. One is, so if God is saying there is an order, and there are mundane things to this order that I need you to practice, and there are universal things that I need you to practice. Is the you singular or plural? Okay. All right. Because I can feel that I've fulfilled as much as possible of the whether you call them mitzvot and you know, commandments and acts, and made the right choices and tried to gear my life towards maintaining that order. But I'm still subject to what my next door neighbor or
You can't control
the
everything.
President of the United States or whatever might be doing, okay? So that's number one, is singular or plural, how do we reconcile that in striving for order? The second, I suppose, is God actively involved in my choices or actions, or has God written again, you know, written all this and laid it out for, and is now just sitting back, as Elie Wiesel said, you know, and either smiling or crying,
Right.
as he sees individuals or groups or nations choose to either work towards order or work towards disorder. And again, you know, whether for whatever reason, whether it's free will or whether it's the satanic, you know, impulse within us, which is a whole other discussion for Suzanne's sake, you know, also. So those are the two things that ran through my mind. It's an interesting perspective to put it into, as this is a search or a response to God's suggestion, somewhere between suggestion and command, to maintain order rather than chaos.
And with that comes responsibility.
Sure.
And respect. And if there are differences, it's your responsibility to work them out.
Right. Well, both to yourself
And
to the world, and respect, self-respect,
Exactly.
as well as respect
Exactly.
the rest of the world. Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's a slightly different approach. Anyway, I'll take it apart. You have fun with it.
Amy's got her hand up, and so does Beth.
Okay, Amy and Beth, I don't know who I was
Amy's first.
this way, and now I can't see the screen. So whoever was first, you go
We
first.
can put up a second screen over here.
Yeah, so no, it's not necessary. Go ahead.
Thank you, Beth. In my religious upbringing, I've been taught that God has given us free will. And I also believe that blessings come from God. But I don't hold God attainable for all the bad. I believe in Satan or the devil that is hard at work. However, I do believe that God whispers in our ear a suggestion of maybe a path or we should take. And for instance, let's say I do something that I know is wrong. And then I feel guilty later on thinking about it. That's God whispering in my ear. You know, in our lives.
Maybe something's happening with your mic. Is there a loose wire or is it? Now you're frozen.
It may just be her
Yeah.
internet is a little bit.
Your
iffy, that's
bandwidth
all.
is, you know,
Yeah, I had a notice that said low bandwidth.
okay. Okay. Well, we heard most of what you said. Beth, I'm going to let you have a word here.
Amy, are you done? Okay.
Yes.
First of all, I would disagree with Marty about nature being chaos. I think that nature actually is far more balanced than humans are. And in fact, the things that happen in nature that become unbalanced are often because of our existence, which is why I think it behooves us to be good stewards. But I was thinking, suppose we took God out of this equation, and still, I mean, everything here happens, but it's not because that we bring it apart, that perhaps we bring some of this chaos and horror upon ourselves. That God isn't, even though this is very, the Old Testament, I will rain down upon you bad things, or I will uplift you good things if you follow my precepts. But suppose what we're wrestling with, it's Jacob and his angel, and that this is, again, in present day, this is more about our actions and how we treat each other, because we're born with all of these tools, and we've born with the ability and sensibilities to learn and to know right and wrong, and to go back, for me, as always, to the golden rule. And so if we can't blame God for the bad things, if we have to actually look at ourselves and acknowledge that humans run the gamut from absolutely horrific to absolutely wonderful, then it places the responsibility on us. And it doesn't mean we're going to get it right, because obviously we don't get it right really often, historically, over and over and over again. But I think in a lot of ways, for me, taking God out of the equation, I don't mean not believing in God, but as to where the responsibilities lie and how we live our lives makes more sense to me.
God, what is the purpose of prayer?
Michael, please stop. Rabbi Miri first and then Michael.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. This is my new computer altogether.
Very good.
Hallelujah. What
Mazel.
I want to just share into, when we are asked why are we in the universe, and let's say that the we is the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. What's our role here? What are we supposed to do? And we say Tikkun Olam, which is the not the fixing, what's another nice word?
Heal.
To heal the world.
Or
so
repair.
if that's our purpose, it's taking into account that the world is, I'll say, it's screwed up. It's not in a good shape. Something needs to be done about it. And I think that we keep talking about I, while we need to talk about the groups of people, the communities, the nations as I. Because if you said, well, I did all the mitzvot, blah, 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 but did that community that it's one did all the things that we're supposed to do? And the other word that I want to say is the word shalom, which comes to shlemut, which is wholeness. So something is broken, and we need to get into that wholeness and repair the world. So it's a given. What I'm saying, it's a given. If we have to do something, it's because it's not there. And the world is not perfect. It's not even complete. And I really, really want to emphasize the issue of communities and not talking about, oh, I helped the old lady cross the street, so I'm really great. It's not. Is, let's say, and I'm going to be political now, let's say that the state of Israel decided to create plitim, refugees. It was I, the state. Or when Hamas attacked, it wasn't one person or two or three. There was a group of people. And I think that we have to start very seriously to think, as we say in Pesach, I'm part of it, but there is a klal, there is an entire thing, entire group that needs to do things.
Very good. In answer to, I just wanted to comment, and then I'll get to Michael. I just wanted to I mentioned this because if you go all the way back to Leviticus 25, where this whole issue, this whole discussion begins, if you read verses 1 and 2 of Leviticus 25, the Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, speak to the Israelite people and say to them. So all of this is in response to what you brought up. It's not just the individual. Rabbi Miri addressed it too. It's the entire nation of Israel that's being addressed. But being a part of a nation, you have a responsibility to make sure it continues as an individual. So you have to, it's not just everyone else's responsibility. You're part of that equation. So if it's nice to help the lady cross the street, everybody should be doing that, not just one person. If it's to hold the door open for someone, it's now considered chivalrous. Let's get rid of that. But hold the door open for someone who may need help. It's the right thing to do. If you think of any legal system, it's designed for people who are going to defy the law, to defy what is common sense. And so as a result, you need guidelines. And over the years, you have always all different ways of doing that. But if you need some order in a society, and I look at Torah as a guideline, and it's the word of God. So it's a guideline to live by, so that we can all work together, but we still have that individual responsibility. It's not just everyone else, it's us too. Yes.
No, go to Michael and then.
Oh, okay,
and
Michael.
I think Gail too.
Okay, Michael, Gail, I have to apologize with vision and everything. So Mike, you're on first, then who's next? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for me, the purpose of prayer is I pray to my commander. And I often like to use the word commander because of the 10 Commandments. And of course, that's God. But the purpose for me, is to help, to heal or to help. Heal or help. And that's just very, very, very basic and very, very simple. At the end of Adon Olam, it says, God is with me. I have no fear. Mm-hmm. So I just look at that as a very basic way.
Good point. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to, first of all, agree with Beth that I don't find nature chaotic. I think nature has very specific rules, which I think are being broken. And I have a question for Rabbi Miri. When you say repair the world, Are you talking about just people? Is that the world is just people, or are you including nature and the universe and everything, not just us? There's too much us.
But I cannot see you can call the boulders and stones and animals, all of them, but in this case, it's a very human kind of tikkun olam. I cannot expect the dogs to fix the world. I don't expect the mountains to fix the world.
No,
On
but
the contrary, those that believe that God commanded on a tsunami, on an earthquake, that's how you see the world. But it's not. This is about human beings. It's about human beings that need to do that. When we say, how come this president was elected? It didn't take one person, but it didn't take the dogs and the cats and the lions to do that, and it didn't take them to fix that.
no, but if we're breaking the rules of nature, we're not helping to repair the world at large, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Beth, are you
Yeah.
following this or not?
Yeah, I think she.
And this is again the same thing, Gail. If one person chopped one tree, no problem. But when it is a group, you can say one is a corporation, but it's again a group of people, and I'm not going to analyze the reason for that, not now and not here. But my personal belief is on us as a community, as a group, because all the wars were started with. Maybe this guy ignited it, but without all this group, it wouldn't have happened.
Okay, Beth.
I think actually Gail and Rabbi Miri are on the same page, but looking at it from different directions. Rabbi Miri, from what I'm hearing, is talking about who's doing the repairing, and Gail is asking about what's being repaired. Am I correct?
That's part of it, yeah.
Whatever is broken.
Right, but you're talking, but Miri, you're talking about that humanity needs
Yes.
to do the
Yes.
fixing and
Right.
the repairing, and Gail is talking about the world, the thing that the thing, the concept, the everything that needs to be repaired. So so
Yeah.
I think you're on the same page. You're just looking at it from different directions. And so am I right, Gail?
Holistic.
I'm trying to be more holistic, I think is the word.
Oh, the rabbi had it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there's no question that Judaism's the imperative, the ethical imperative of tikkun olam is to repair the world. That's nature. That's everything that has been created. Okay, but it also speaks to the individual, because each individual, if you remove any one individual, it's as if you've removed all individuals. What was the phrase? It wasn't one person who elected the president. There was lots of one person, who did that. I also want to put it in the context of a particular quote for this time of year from our tradition is when you study Pirkei Avot, when you study the ethics of the fathers, which you do between Passover and Shavuot, the introductory statement is from the Mishnah is Kol Yisrael Yesh Lahem Chelek Ba'olam Haba, that each Israelite has a portion, is entitled to a portion in the world to come. And then the rabbis joined in and said, well, that's great to know. However, You can also change it around a little bit with the second meaning of chelek as not that you have a portion that's given to you, but that you have more than a responsibility. And instead of la'olam haba, it's la'olam hazeh, into this world. Okay, so every Israelite has as much of a responsibility to this world, and they go on to suggestion. And one of the best ways to learn about that responsibility is to study Pirkei Avot. That's how they link that together. So whether it's the individual or the individual as a member of the community, the obligation is still there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to know that, yes, that we all have a portion in the world to come, whatever that means, and however each of us want to believe about that. But meanwhile, you have an obligation in this world too.
Yes, Steve.
Marty, just something that we haven't really focused on, but sort of is hinted on here, is individual versus group responsibilities and
or punishment.
these consequences, individual or group punishment. And it's important to remember that person might get disturbed by the description, the tochacha of the rebuke, that all this devastation happens. Was everybody bad? It's a little bit like what happened to Stone. Is everybody bad? Universal badness and universal punishment. And I would see it a little differently. It's teaching us that an individual actually has a lot of impact, that you have to remember that as an individual, because there's a real temptation to go with the flow and not to speak up. An individual within a corporation, if there's something bad going on, the individual can fix that. So very often we don't have a group consensus on how to proceed. That may never happen, but an individual has a lot of power. And so we have to remember that as individuals, we have responsibility, we have power, and we can change things within. We have a lot of power to change things, even as individuals. So,
Thank you.
It puts a little bit more of a positive spin on why the group punishment. Why is everything happening to the group? It's because the group is individuals, and the individuals have a lot of say. Have a lot of power.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Rabbi Mary. And
Well, Steve, instead of using the word punishment, how about using the word consequence? Because punishment comes from, your father punished you. But if I say, if you leave your bicycle outside at night, it's going to be stolen. It's a consequence. It's not that someone is punishing you. There are consequences. Actually, the example I gave is a theory of by Adler, how to handle kids, natural consequences. But we have also the issue of Israel arevim ze leze. We are in charge of everyone. So, it's always the person that stands by side, like Switzerland, and does nothing. And it's a group, and I always have a problem with the issue of group. And if you, with your Hebrew, you can do it and go around and look how it says, atem, you, yal, and you, one person. And it moves from side to side. All of us were in Sinai. All of us left Egypt. So Klal Israel, the group of Israel, is a very strong notion. And I'm saying notion, I'm not using another word, but notion and nation, maybe it's they come together. My belief in social way of working is very strong. This is me. The influence of people on people is very strong, unfortunately, or fortunately. You know, the word punishment for me, it's such an outside decision by someone. I don't like what you did, therefore I'm going to punish you. Instead of saying, you know, you did this, look what happened. You are in charge of what you did. You should have thought about it.
Good point. Good point. Michael?
But just a point of information. When the rabbi was speaking, the rabbi's projection was really great. I heard him so clear everything, and because of the situation there, it's hard to hear. And different people speak at different volumes, so it's hard to hear everything. But the projection, I think, has to be improved by everybody if we're going to maintain this.
Okay, can you hear Steve when he talks?
Not as well. I can hear, but kind of struggling to hear some of the words.
Can you hear Bev when she talks?
Can you hear me?
I don't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear everybody, but making everything out is another thing.
Can you make it out what she's saying?
Hardly.
Hardly.
Again, Michael, it might be, you know, you're advising everybody to project, but there might be limitations of the equipment that's here as well. I'm not sure, you know, if we were all mic'd individually, like on TV.
That would be different.
It would be terrific, but that's not the level of technology that's here. It's a little microphone that's inside the camera. So
now, Steve, I'm taking a class from a teacher who sits at home, and all the rest of us are on Zoom, and we hear everyone perfectly.
no,
So there is something in the equipment. Maybe need to invest in the equipment a little more.
Well, but you're all sitting on your individual computers. You're all close to the microphones of the laptops. This is a single microphone for the group that's here. We aren't sitting on our laptops. So it's a slightly different situation.
You can also
What-
join us here.
Yes, that's
They
kind of, I didn't want to come out and say that, but whoever can come, you'll hear things a whole lot better. If you can, I'm not saying you must, it's your decision, but if there's a real problem with you hearing us, you know, rather than telling us as individuals to project, I mean, there may be a limitation to that. You know, I may never be able to project adequately. I haven't had theatrical training, so I'm not.
We actually hear you much better than the rest of the people. We hear Rabbi Norm and you much better. That's why when I said, Marty, you don't have to move your head. You can move your chair to that direction. It seems like something is going on there. Okay, let's forget about it.
We're still, it does need to be said, we're still experimenting with, this is the second way that we tried to do it. Maybe there's another way of configuring the tables and the chairs and where we put the camera. Right now, the camera and the microphone is the same piece of equipment. Maybe we can experiment with using a different kind of microphone. But we'll see.
Thank you. Yes, Amy.
I was having trouble hearing people myself, and I turned up the volume on my computer, and I can hear everyone perfectly now.
So maybe that's part of the answer. I don't know.
No, I have the top, no.
I am dead center with the camera.
I'm
Everybody-
not.
time.
Either we're all there at the temple or we're all on Zoom. That's the issue. That would solve the problem. To have this homogeneated thing is the problem. Either you're there or you're here. That's it. It's as simple as that.
I'm here.
Yeah, you come
And,
down.
I think it will be.
But not everybody can come there.
Because everyone here.
But everybody can be on Zoom.
Some of us would like to be with others.
Yes, we like it here.
I'm not disputing that. All I'm saying is this: either we're all there or we're all here. When we're all on Zoom, we don't have any issue. That's all I'm saying. I think if everybody likes to be with some other people. I think that's true and wonderful. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about simply correcting the situation, either we're all there or all on Zoom. That's all I'm saying.
This is a technical thing. We will discuss that. It's taking us far from Torah study.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
I apologize for bringing it up.
turn up your volume.
Okay.
Because right now, all we're doing is yelling and straining our voices here.
I can hear that.
Turn up your volume up to maximum, Michael. It'll help.
I'm at 100%.
It may be on your speaker. Be sure it's on your mic. It's not your microphone. It is your speakers.
Yeah.
We also have a problem with you guys.
I got very good equipment here, Marty.
I know, but you may have to turn up your volume.
The volume is at 100%.
Let's change the subject.
Thank you.
Yes, Marsha.
We're all.
Changing the subject.
We were,
we-
responsibility,
we had-
individual, collective, consequence.
Look that this is a great example of what happens when one person, okay, myself included, takes us away from the Torah portion.
Ooh, good point.
Chaos.
Yes.
Oh.
It's when everything degenerates. Okay?
Did you
This
orchestrate
wasn't
all of this?
So
This wasn't chaos.
no, but it took us
It's Torah Lishma,
which is
Torah for its own sake.
okay.
So that, no, seriously, so
Okay,
that,
all right.
as many people can participate on a comfortable level as possible.
So where did we leave off in the reading? I've lost my place.
27 something.
Left off the reading was the end of the Tochecha rebuke.
Okay, so
The scolding, so that was, I'll find it, okay? In spite of
did we
these things,
finish through 46?
just a minute.
Yeah,
No, we're at 42.
That's what I thought.
You want me to read that?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
please, Beth.
Okay. Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember. And I will remember the land, for the land shall lie forsaken without them, and shall be paid her Sabbaths, while she lieth desolate without them. And they shall be paid the punishment of their iniquity, because they rejected mine ordinances, and their souls abhorred my statutes. And yet for all of that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them, neither shall I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them, for I am the Lord their God. Do you want me to keep going?
Finish it, yeah, 46, the end of 46.
But I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations, that I might be their God. I am the Lord. These are the statutes and ordinances and laws which the Lord made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses.
Okay. Any comments about this?
Uh,
What we just read?
I have a question. Because this prior passage that we read was so long, I am unsure as to how we got to then. Then will I remember? What happens that,
In the earlier verses, if you go through verses 39 through 40, if you want to read that, Beth?
sure. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' lands, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away from them, and they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers in their treachery, which they committed against me, and also that they have walked contrary to me. Okay, so now I get it. So
what's the answer to your question?
So the answer to the question is that if we acknowledge that we have strayed so far away from God's precepts, if we acknowledge it, then God will recognize our acknowledgement, our understanding that we need to make big changes. Yes?
Yeah, there's a little more that could be added.
Well, I'd say it's just what Chazara B'Tshuva is,
Yes.
Just turning around and not only acknowledging, but really by action, sort of repairing the wrongs, like we do on Yom Kippur.
Very good.
Okay.
Atonement.
It's and there's always room for that. That's also a very important Judaic concept is, there's always room to turn around.
Yes.
It's never too late.
Yes.
I was struck by the in 41, the use of the word uncircumcised heart. The notes say unconsecrated, unclean, closed to the divine call or appeal. But certainly, I think most of us, if not all of us, view uncircumcised as, a particular thing. Marty?
Can we come back to that? Suzanne has her hand up. I didn't want to change the subject.
Sure.
Let Suzanne go and then go back to what you were saying. It's very important. Go ahead, Suzanne.
You're
Sorry.
muted.
Yeah, Beth is raising an excellent point, but I have a question. For the life of me, I cannot remember what the covenant with Isaac is. I know Abrahamic covenants and also with Jacob, but what was the one with Isaac? I can't recall that.
I think it's just a sort of a wordy way or sort of a more lawyerly way of expressing the strength of the covenant, because the covenant was a permanent covenant with Abraham, but also with Isaac. It's really all the same covenant, but it just says that this was a contract that was automatically renewed every time there was a new forefather. So
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just sort of legalistic, or not really legalistic, but more. I don't know. I'm sort of losing my language here, but a more.
It's showing the progression that the covenant continues through the generations.
The covenant is since Abraham. It's going from generation to generation to generation. Even when you were in exile, I was there. Even
Okay.
And so that's how and we always mention our forefathers because that is, they represent the beginning of everything we discuss is there.
Okay,
Well, like in general, in Hebrew, there are certain sort of literature
Yeah,
or language mechanisms that are common and one of the common mechanisms that are used often in the Bible is repetition.
yes,
Is rather in order to emphasize something, you say it not once, but several times and maybe several different ways.
Right.
You know,
And then,
so.
which is what happens.
yeah, and then Mark, you did look at me, so I'll come in, okay.
Okay, and then
So-
we'll still get back.
So when the rabbis see this and they say, okay, why is it, as opposed to the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, why is it the covenant of Abraham, the covenant of Isaac, the covenant, and as you said, because Abraham was before they came to the land,
Mhm.
Isaac never leaves the land. Jacob, who then gives us the whole legacy of all the children of Israel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not that it's a different covenant, it's that it was expressed differently to the different generations.
okay,
That's how
thank
they.
you.
Okay, so Beth, you raised another question, please. You
Oh,
can-
the uncircumcised heart, it's just such an interesting use of the word since I've never heard it applied to anything besides the Brit Milah.
Right.
No,
But it's also
Everything is
a
great.
matter of translation here, because
Yes,
the Hebrew word for uncircumcised is arel. Arel,
Arel.
Resh Lamed, and that, I just looked it up. It's primarily uncircumcised, okay, but it also can mean unpruned. And in a larger sense, Gentile, unpruned, yes, yes.
unproved.
So I think it's really just.
It's a euphemistic phrase. It does appear frequently in the Torah. You may not have seen it, but it is there as a frequent description of those who choose not to listen to God's word. Those who, the English here is obdurate.
Right.
Okay,
Or
yeah,
uncertain,
you know,
right.
but whatever, but those who reject, okay, right, the unclean, if you will, it's a euphemistic phrase, like similarly to someone who's angry, the nostrils flare or something like that, yeah.
We also read something like this with the Pharaoh.
You harden his heart, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And Steve knows about the pericardium. They knew about the pericardium. The heart's in a sac. Okay? And it's no different than what has to be done in the circumcision process. You're allowing freedom. Remember, we had a discussion of where they thought the soul resided at that time. And it is in the heart, because the heart beats. Okay? It's alive inside. Not just something, oh, it's there. And they thought that that was the soul. They didn't know anything about the brain or anything at that time. But that was where everything resided. If you open your heart, you're opening it to your soul. So, and and that's where you're going to, your behavior will be modified. You will listen, you will hear, you will, no, you'll look and you'll see, you'll understand. That's what it implies. And I think that's another way of looking at that.
Well, it's not that I don't understand it. It's just, I think it's an interesting use of a word that mostly is used for a very specific act in Judaism. And I will tell you just a quick funny story. I have a beautiful rainbow cactus that looks like a big circumcised penis. I mean, anybody could see that. So it's been blooming profusely. So I put it up on Facebook and I called it the Moyles Hobby Cactus. And so this woman who's not Jewish says, "Oh, I have one of those. Now I know what it's called."
Oh, you started something.
And I said, I immediately, I mean, I was tempted to just let her roll with it, but then I thought that's not fair. I said, no, that's just me being snarky. But I noticed that all of my Jewish Facebook friends got it right away.
Yes, Rabbi Mary, please.
Okay, a couple of things. You were a cardiologist, weren't you, Marty?
No, gastro, but I
Just a little lower. Okay. Much. Well, we had in one Torah study many years ago in Or Hadash a cardiologist, and he explained that around the heart there is a cover very thin that holds, or I don't know what it does, but it's something that affects the heart beating. So we can go to that place and said, when you take it out, the heart beats more, etc. The other thing is when we remember when Pharaoh didn't want to let us leave, it says either, and his heart was hardened, kaved was heavier, or hazak, which is strong, meaning that it could not beat very well. That's two things. Now, the other one is something that has to do with language, which by now you know that I love. The word arel, if you change the order of the letters, and we do this very often, we get the word ra'al, which is poison. So removing the poison as metaphorically from the heart in order to let it go properly.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Marty, just further, just something I missed. This is from the etymological dictionary, actually. More on Beth's question about why uncircumcised heart. The same root, the same word can also mean in the passive form can mean became dull or became stupid, which is more, that makes it a little more clear. Ne'eral
In rabbinic.
is
Right.
became stupid or
Right.
dull. So it's sort of implying that these you know, your sinning heart is a little bit, you know, not only sinful, but a little bit, you know, not taking note.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit slow, a little bit stupid. And once your heart really wisens up, you're ready for chazara b'teshuvah. You're ready for their repentance.
Yeah, Marty. Yeah, I was gonna say too, that aral in rabbin, in the later literature is what is it? What is it? Haman? No, not Haman. What's the opposite of antonym?
Okay.
Whichever. Okay. For chacham, for someone
okay.
who's bright or smart, is someone who's aral. But also in the liturgy, we have aral sfatayim. We have uncircumcised lips.
Yeah,
Right.
Moshe. Yeah.
Especially on the high holy days. Okay, so you know, so yes, the translation that seems to be the one most prevalent in English is uncircumcised, but the phrase comes to take on different meanings in its original Hebrew.
Now that you
No,
brought that up,
I can see your mind going, okay.
now that the rabbi brought, I have to ask a question. When is
Wipe that smile off your face. Doctor, come on.
I'm trying to find the right words. So when does Moses circumcise tongue or lips?
Yeah.
When does that occur? When is it remedied? What happens? I mean, he's gone.
Aral Sfatayim, right, exactly. It's the same right.
Cannot function, or else what time could be, you know, I cannot speak well, that's the intention to say. But, you know, I can move them, I cannot move my lips well enough to speak. So, or else what time, that's what Moshe, one of the excuses that he puts in front of the bush.
That's when he's changed. He is changed. If you look at it this way, he is now opening up. He's now going to become the spokesperson for the people.
No.
He is going to receive.
No, he's not the spokesperson.
That's Aaron.
Aaron is the
spokes to the people, but he has to tell. Moses has to relay all of these things. Initially it's to tell Aaron what to do.
Yes.
And then but in order to
eventually, as he matures as a leader, right.
Yeah. So we always say, well, he stammered or anything. Maybe he was over top, but that event caused him to now start the process of uncircumcising his own lips. Sure. Maybe that's what that phraseology meant back then. Right. That's all I can
You know,
say.
the other thought that came to my mind is that the circumcision is another covenant. It's a brit milah. In America, they'll call it bris. But it's Brit Milah, which is a covenant. So when we talk about perhaps here, we're talking about a covenant with the heart. And if we use the heart as Marty was talking about, it's an interesting way of thinking.
Yeah, it's just different. That's all.
I don't think it's in Torah, but there is a reference somewhere to Aral Oznaim, to uncircumcised ear.
Yes.
Okay, so there's some kind of a covering of the eardrum or whatever that prevents your again euphemistically, someone who doesn't hear clearly or comprehend everything.
Doesn't understand.
I don't remember exactly where it is, but I know I've seen.
Was it a reference to something physical that you could see, or just person's not
I think
understanding?
it may even be like in Proverbs or something like that.
Yeah,
You know, it sounds like more of that, you know, the Aral, you know, there's Aral Sfatayim, there's uncircumcised lips and there's uncircumcised ears, and, you know, because as you said, there's the repetition and there's the parallelism, you know, and whatever in a lot of those phrases.
So we want to be uncircumcised. We want to be circumcised.
Yeah.
Suzanne.
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
in response to Rabbi, actually, that was in the New Testament when Apostle Stephen was talking to the Sanhedrin, and he told them that they were uncircumcised in their heart and ears.
Okay, it's probably It's
Okay.
probably a colloquial
Yeah.
phrase.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It definitely appears in rabbinic literature or later biblical literature somewhere.
Yeah.
So like I say, it was a colloquial kind of thing, yeah.
Well, he himself was a Jew, so I mean, that would have been just passed along.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
So,
is one other thing. I have a slight addition to what everyone has said, including myself. I think that part of the interpretation here has to say that God is saying to the people through Moses, God will always be here. So if you stray, he's still available to you. He's still going to be there to protect you in the worst of times. If you confess, if you change your ways, so that you get back on the right path, whatever that may be, but the right path, you will come back to God, and he's there waiting for you to do that. That's another way of interpreting that passage legally. It's no different than in a legal situation, that if you screwed up, and if we still want you as an employee because you are a valuable employee, you'll still have a job, but you got to change your ways. We're still here. So that's another way of looking at this.
That's the classic, and we usually associate it more with
Yeah.
the Haftarah readings
Yes.
than with the Torah readings, but that's the classic. There's all the to use the word that Steve was using before, the tochacha. There's all the reproving, and there's all the criticizing and the warning and the threats, but it ends with what they call, excuse me, a nachemta, a word of compassion.
Right.
And a word of support, that even though I will not forsake you, I will not leave you permanently, I will still bring you back. And
Yeah. Any other discussion? We're getting hoarse here. We're starting to cough because we're shouting so much.
Oh,
Here.
actually,
I think I just saw somebody across the street hold up a sign, please tone it down. I don't know who had the hand up first. Suzanne, let David, he hasn't said much today.
oh, sure.
And then,
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Suzanne. And thanks, Marty. I've been thinking a lot about what Beth said about nature earlier. And I don't think that she was so much disagreeing with Marty about it as that she was trying to express the idea that in the apparent chaos of nature is a wonderful, beautiful order. And you know, it's just something we need to figure out, because from anything from bugs crawling around anything from bugs crawling around outside the door to the gravitational pull of a black hole pulling in matter from another star. There is this beautiful order in nature. It's expressed in poetry over the millennia. It is expressed in the science that we do now. And I think it's expressed extremely well in what Beth said earlier. And that's really what I wanted to say as we reach the end of this wonderful Torah study session.
Thank you. Yes, wait a
Thank
minute.
you.
Lost track.
Suzanne.
Suzanne had a hand up, then yeah.
Okay, all the discussion brings to mind one of my favorite verses from scripture, and it usually makes me cry. So I'll try to say it without crying. It's 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent contribution to the discussion.
Yeah, I just think that's so beautiful.
It is. Thank you. Yeah.
I was just I'm in disagreement on your term chaos. To me, chaos is just something that we don't understand. Once we understand it, it's very orderly. But we have to have a term for the things we don't understand, and that's called chaos.
Well,
I know. He's a scientist.
well, that's not exactly how science works.
Well, yeah, but.
We have,
It's legitimate. It's not just.
there are some things that we think
Not the house.
are orderly because we see it that way. We have developed a way of describing order mathematically. We have described it with lots of knowledge until as death or shit happens, because we can't think of every possibility.
Right,
It's an impossible chance.
exactly.
And so everything we try to do is to seek order.
That's true.
We seek it because God is seek that order. But
Seek it,
the world,
seek it and understand
if you
it,
look at,
not for us to put it into order.
put it into order, that's tikkun olam. But
Well, that's
We
Right.
also,
in order, but
not to put it into human order.
right, God's order.
Yeah.
now in the word chaos in English is used in the creation of the world, when in Hebrew we say tohu vavohu, which is chaos. And that's the beginning of creation, in which things are created in certain order. But until then, and I don't know, depending on your notion of God, God is the one that said, well, enough is enough. Let's make some order here.
Yeah, but overall, the universe is chaotic.
Have to go all through.
Because changes happen constantly. That's all I can say. There's nothing, we like it in we look at it in our lifetime, it looks like it's order, but it really isn't if you look at it over.
No, but then you can look at something and think it's chaos, and then suddenly you figure it out.
Well, that's what I was getting after
No,
chaotic.
I don't think it's.
That's chaos theory, periods of order.
Oh.
Let's go.
On that note.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.